All right, you're welcome back to the program News Hub on Silverbird Television and Silverbird News 24. Let's now get into the program for you today. Politics and the 2023 elections is the focus. And we're speaking with one of the presidential hopefuls for the 2023 elections for the Social Democratic Party, who is joining us from our Abuja studios this morning, Prince Adebayo Adewale. He is a presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program.
Good morning.
All right, let's get straight into it now. The Social Democratic Party, I'm sure you consider yourself to be a contender or a frontrunner in the 2023 elections. The political space, however, is quite congested. How do you think your party can push its mandate, especially at the presidential level, to win the votes come 2023?
Well, the space is congested, but the issues are narrow. The issues are narrow to the issue of how people feel about the economy and how people feel about security and social services. And when it comes to the issues, I think we occupy the space. We are the one committing ourselves to fair work to poverty. We are the one committing ourselves to fair work to poverty and insecurity. And we are the one committing ourselves to massive social investment under the rubric of Chapter 2 of the 1999 Constitution to make sure we provide for people in the area of critical needs so that we can structurally and institutionally eliminate poverty. So, but when it comes to making noises and jumping all over the place, of course, a lot of people there, but when it comes to reaching the heart of the people, talking to them on things that matter to them, I think we are having a free ride, as it were.
Well, I'd like to write on the last part of your statement at this point in time. You know, as you can see, the electioneering campaigns, we can hear from you, but not as much as some would say that you're hearing from other political parties. You said now that your mode of campaigning seems not to be in tandem with how others are going about it. So how would you rate your level of campaign vis-a-vis the expectation of people who like to see you across board and hear from you from time to time? Have you been able to do as much this far, and what are your projections into the year 2023?
Well, I was in Imo 2 days ago. I was in Lagos yesterday. I'm going to be in Kano today, and I'll be in Delta the day after. I've been in all parts of the country. We are going around. What people have been accustomed to as politics, which is renting crowd, bringing big budgets and filling stadia with people, the same people who appear for Party A. When Party B brings its mobilizers, the same people go there. So what we decided to do is to go to the people where they are. There are clips of our interviews, clips of our engagement with the people that if you are interested, we can send to the studio. And if we have prior knowledge, we'll have sent them to you ahead. We are going from door to door. We are the one doing door-to-door campaign, and we go and do engagements. There is no public forum that has been called that we don't attend. When the Human Rights Commission for the country called the Human Rights Town Hall, maybe it was a few of us that attended. The other guys are not there. When the Nigerian youths had their debates 3 nights ago, we were the one who showed up. The others did not show up. So we're going around. What we are not going to do, which is what I've already promised that we will not do, is run a very expensive campaign, wasteful campaign, take money from a lot of people who position themselves to using money to capture politicians. Because when you have an expensive campaign and you are going to spend 3 billion per rally, 2 billion per rally, okay, you're already selling out your presidency. So it doesn't matter whether eventually you say, I don't belong to this one, I don't belong to everybody, I don't belong to nobody. They already invested in you. So what we're trying to do is to tell our supporters, don't come to any stadium to come and meet me. Stay in your community. Talk to the people around you. Your community is where you have credibility. So what does it profit me to take 300, 500 party leaders from Cross River, put them on a plane and carry them to Katsina? Who do they know there? What are they telling people? They can't even speak Hausa. So it's better for me to use the community to do the work. Today now I'm going to Mumbai House in Kano to meet all the councillors from all communities in the north. And I'm meeting with them. They know the issues of their community. So that's how I believe we will communicate. I do not claim that I have superiority in political science. But what I know is that if you want to do politics, you must define it according to your values. You cannot say, I want to eradicate poverty, I want to eradicate insecurity, I want to abolish corruption, and you are running an expensive campaign. You are contradictory at that point. So the most important thing I know in politics is that at the end of the campaign, every voter in each of the 176,180 polling units must know what you stand for, must know your value, must know what you promise at the time they are going to the poll. So at that point, they are making an informed decision about you. So for the Social Democratic Party and for my presidential campaign, nobody can write our narrative. People are hearing from us directly. We're on radio programs. We're on this show now, even though we heard about it just a few moments ago. So we are here. So the most important thing is to ensure that you communicate and you try as much as possible not to compromise your presidency ahead of time. And that is the key. If we don't have a value-based campaign system, we're going to end up with jamborees that lead to no change.
Okay. I'd like to clarify this. Are you now saying that the SDP will not hold any mega rally before the 2023 elections?
We've had rallies. You must have seen a rally in Delta, a rally in Oyo, a rally in Adamawa. We're planning some rallies, but the idea is that those things are meant to just gather all your supporters together, your real supporter, organic, genuine supporters, to try to direct them. So this is how we plan our own rally. We let people do the groundwork for some time, and then we come in and gather them together and do some form of celebration with them and all of that, and then they go back to their communities. So that if I get to a rally, I can almost know who is from where. These are not strangers. So those are the things that we try to do. And we are mobile. We go all over the country. There is no senatorial district that we don't have a presidential campaign team. We are running an asymmetric campaign. We are an opposition trying to fight people who believe in money politics. We can't fight them if we are running temperature like them financially. So what we can do is to make sure that however loud their noise is, whatever they are doing, they don't get to the people before us and they don't have the last word. But we do rallies, we do seminars, we do town hall, we do symposia, we do anything. We do direct engagement, we do community work. So we do everything, but we're doing it in a way that it originates from the people. There is no, that's why you haven't heard that any state chairman of our campaign has been expelled, any youth leader has run away with money and things like that. We don't do that. We let you raise your resources in your community. You do what is within your means. So when I went to Focados, people were campaigning with boats and canoe. And Jakusku, people are campaigning on donkeys. And some places they are walking and just walking on their feet and campaigning. And in many places you will have seen our branded Sienna buses going around too. So we get to the people that way. We think that it will augur well for Nigerian politics if you keep the politics modest, the finance modest, and you let people run it in their communities. And that is what I think works out for us.
Okay.
If we are going to have enough space left in the finance of the country to invest in social investment. If you blow all that money, run a trillion naira presidential campaign, you've ruined the country ahead of time.
Okay. Let's focus then on your manifesto. On one critical point, I'm going to get into others that stood out, is your position on this issue of decentralizing power from the center. You have also championed that call to have states also have as much control of their resources, more than even the central government. How do you think this would be possible should you be elected into office? And then how would you be able to properly execute that without necessarily losing too much focus from the center and giving so much to those elected into office at state level?
Given our developmental stage, the things that confront our people are basic, and there are things that can be taken care of at the level of the community. You would see that we made some progress in the First Republic for many reasons, but one of it was that the native authorities did work. So if you are in any community, and for any Nigerian who has lived abroad, you will see that whatever you need from cradle to your grave, you can get it from your city council, you can get it from your local government. And that's the kind of system I think will work for Nigeria in the long run. As president, I want to do big things. I don't want to be the president who says, I'm feeding children in their school. What is the local government going to do? We should create a system by executive order whereby a local government can collaborate with the central government, and you can do your basic things, immunization, everything. We are federalizing and centralizing many things that used to be done by the local community. Secondly, every organ of government and every level of government that has legislative power should have executive power too. If a local government can make an ordinance saying, don't park refuse here, don't drop refuse here, don't do this, don't do that, don't park here, they ought to have a minimum law enforcement power within their own authority that allows them to enforce those laws. So if many of our, or most of our criminal offenses are state offenses, murder, arson, manslaughter, rape, whatever, they are all within state laws. So it is possible for a state assembly to meet and abolish these laws or increase the sanctions. So if they have so much power over such, then they should have police sufficient enough to enforce the laws of the state. Now, federal offenses are the ones, and federal laws are the ones which national police should be able to enforce. But right now, if somebody violates Oshodi Solo local government ordinance or refuse, you have to take the permission of the Inspector General of Police in Abuja to enforce don't throw refuse here kind of law. So this is the impracticality and the sluggishness that we have in the system. It's not just a political thing, it's not, no. Then with respect to resources, I believe that communities do best when they are in charge of their resources. And luckily for us, it's been proven by science and uncontroversial data that every part of Nigeria has enough resources to be a country of its own, to be wealthy on its own, to be prosperous on its own. So we are lucky that we're all together, but I don't want a feeling where someone in Ondo thinks that the resources of the people of Rivers State is what he needs to survive. I think that we should allow communities to control their resources, and even farmland is more valuable than petroleum. So I think that solid minerals is everywhere, the sun is shining everywhere. So if we have a country where the control of resources is decentralized, you will see that unity will be stronger. Nobody is going to be suspecting the other person as coming to take their resources, and we will be more accountable. And I think it's going to work for us. And pragmatically, if we are going to be able to invest in our people, the lower government, the lower level governments ought to have a lot of resources so that nobody leaves their hometown and come to Abuja to earn a decent living. If you are born in Ueli, in Delta State, you are more likely to be running to Lagos or running to Abuja or Port Harcourt. And that's not how you develop a country. You want to make sure that people can stay in the community where they are born, and if they want to leave, they leave only because they found a better choice, not because they are being forced by underdevelopment, by being forced by no choice to migrate all over the place. And that is what I think is good for the country.
All right, Prince Adewale, for clarity, if you're saying that you want for states to be in charge of their resources, some would say maybe it's another way of saying you are pushing for restructuring. Am I right? No,
anybody who is in Nigeria today who is denying restructuring is living in la, because even within government, we need to restructure. There is no efficiency. When you come to an environment in which there is no efficiency, there's no good outcome, there's no progress being made, you don't need to waste your energy on debating that. You need to restructure. And there are three things we need to restructure. We need to restructure our thinking in terms of what government stands for. Government is not a center for the distribution of resources. No, government is a mediator to allow us to create an atmosphere for productivity. So and the government does that by ensuring that there's rule of law, independent of the government of the day. There is infrastructure. There is a system of love and safety in the country. You will do that. Second, you look for efficiencies, especially allocative efficiencies. You want to make sure that we are the same people, we are the same Nigerian, but at what level should we start to engage the use of our resources? And it's scientifically proven that the closer you are to the people, the better. If you want to solve a problem in Asaba, you are more likely to get the Asaba local government to do it better than Delta State government, but definitely Delta State government will do better than the federal government. So it is not a political thing. It's about how to fix our country. And we were like that before, and nobody lost anything out of it. Okay. Now, the third component of it is that the world is changing, and certain minimum requirements are required for any human being who is living in any country. Access to water, access to medical care, access to education, good habitat and housing, access to basic infrastructure within the city, like public transportation, access to justice. If you are taking those to the center, it will not reach the people. And lastly,
one of those, if
the country itself needs some...
addressing one of those accesses, if you don't mind, is access to electricity, which is part of your manifesto. You're proposing decentralizing control of the electricity companies as we currently have it. You're also looking to invite the private sector. And many would say that the private sector is currently involved in the current system. And for you to go any further, you would need the backing of the legislative arm of government to be able to make any amendments to the law that provides for the control of electricity distribution and transmission from the hands of the federal government. How exactly do you intend to prosecute that? Should you be elected, considering the fact that the Senate and House of Representatives will also have to play a role for that to be actualized?
What I know for sure is that you cannot run a government of suspicion. I know that senators will prefer electricity to darkness. Senators, I think, are tired of buying generators too. So as long as the measures are foolproof, you see, the thing a person who wants to be president should understand is that a vision which you have as president, if it's only you that understand that vision, then you are not leading a country. So any vision that I have will be clear and sellable to the National Assembly because it's very clear. And what am I trying to do? What I'm trying to do is just basically this. Already now, the housewife is the one determining electricity because she's the one buying better past my neighbor generator. She's the one repairing it. She's the one buying diesel at high cost. So even the law as it is today is lying because the majority, the 5,000 megawatts that they claim that the government is doing cannot service Lagos alone. So if you look at it today, the aggregate of the power we are generating in the country is almost 20,000. The majority is generated in funny, inefficient ways. So by people buying generator, by all sorts of things. I'm generating about 1.2 megawatts for myself alone using solar, which is not even recorded by the government. So many communities are doing the same thing. So what I'm thinking is that let us recognize the fact that first, in 2001, September, I remember, I think about 21 years ago, I advised the government of Obasanjo that the National Integrated Power Project will never work. And I told them, you're going to award a lot of contracts, but I'm afraid most of you will die off in darkness. It's not going to work. And that's the reason is that if you look at the geography of this country and the multiple sources of power, what you need are concentric circles of power. Lagos is a maritime state, Delta, all the way to Cross River. Right. So they can generate their power on their own and be self-sufficient. And then the thermal stations, because you need gas to go to them, so you go to, don't pipe your gas more than 100 kilometers to any power station. Otherwise, you have a problem of leakage and breakage. And then try to do
I have a challenge, if you don't mind.
So I did all of that to them. So that's what we are going to do. Then,
if you can hear me. I have a challenge, if you don't mind, with a certain part of your manifesto, which is on turnaround maintenance within a period of 5 years for the electricity generating companies. We've heard this word used in several occasions in Nigeria's history. And what usually happens is that there is little efficiency to that effect. You haven't clearly stated that you would give states the opportunities to generate their own power individually. Why are we having a turnaround maintenance as part of what you intend to do when you enter office?
Turnaround maintenance is for the facilities that we have already, because these are assets on your book. Let me tell you what is annoying about the asset. They are not a profit center as they should be, but they are also not neutral. They are cost centers because every year they budget for them. And when I say I'm going to do turnaround maintenance, I'm not saying I'm going to use your money or the public money to do it. I'm saying that what you do ideally is you do O&M, operating and maintain, a maintenance contract, and let there be turnaround maintenance of those assets so that it can help you, can help the country to use the asset. Because otherwise, what are you doing with it? Wasted asset that you don't use. So, but don't inject public money into it. The mistake that we've made is that people are creating estates out of decayed assets, out of moribund assets. That is why they created, on the electricity side, discos. And you see those who are patronizing the discos, they are the people who were in government at that time or proxies of people in government at that time. What I'm saying now is that you liberalize everything. One of my opponents says he's going to sell NNPC. Why do you want to sell NNPC? Why don't you liberalize it and allow everybody who wants to set up their own NNPC to set it up in competition? So why do you want to sell the one we have invested all our money into? The same mistake that Obasanjo made, there is no reason to sell our assets, just liberalize the sector. NTA was not sold to those who are running Silverbird. You only liberalize the sector, and Silverbird went to set up its own. AIT set up its own. Channels, Captain TV set up its own. Imagine if you didn't do that, you rather sold NTA to one person, and then we are still watching black and white TV and listening to Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President from beginning to the end. So what you do is that you go and liberalize the sector, and that is the difference in the SDP manifesto. We are not going to sell assets that belong to the government. I wouldn't have sold Nigerian Airways to anybody, but I would say we can have 2 or 3 national carriers and we share the routes. So you want to go, you can go. In America, there's no national carrier. They share it. Delta will take it, United will take it, anybody will take it. So we share all our BASA slots. So don't, and it's unconstitutional to concentrate the commanding power of the economy into one hand. Imagine if they had sold First Bank, Union Bank, and they didn't allow other banks. We will not have the efficiency we have in the banking sector now. So what we should know is the difference between opening a sector and selling government property. So we will not sell government property, but we will open the sector, electricity, power generation. If you are a crackhead chemical engineer, and you want to set up a modular refinery somewhere in Oloibiri or somewhere in Yenagoa, go ahead. That's what we are saying.
All right. Prince Adebayo, for a lot of electorates, they want pinpoint accuracy with regards to the issues that concern them directly, and they want to know how. They may not necessarily tell you how to do it. They want to hear how you go about them, such that at the end of the day, they get the results that they desire as a people whose votes you seek at this point in time. Let's switch gears to the area of education as well as medicals in the country. You promised sometime like 3 months ago, you said that you made sure that Medicare, security, education, among other things, will be fixed by your administration if you elected into office. Let's take it one after the other. Let's take a look at the health sector in the country. How do you view it at this point in time? And concerning your manifesto, what are those things that Nigerians get to have if you're voted into power?
Okay, the problem in our health sector is that we are running the health sector at the federal level as a ministry and lots of agencies that are just there incubating a lot of development funding. So they're all fighting to become Director General, Executive Secretary, and all of that. what we want to do is go back to where Oliko Irasokuti left us. What was that? You have to have primary health care. And you cannot deliver primary health care without making it a complex. You have to give people a healthy complex, which is one, you give them food. Because trying to create a health center in a community that is suffering from malnutrition is an oxymoron. So the first thing we do is to make sure that we make provision for adequate food. And luckily enough for us, most of our staple are growable within, we can be grown twice a year, whichever food that Nigerians like. We are lucky in that respect. So what you can do is do what Shagari did right in his time. When he was having the austerity measures, he created a company called National Supply. So however poor you were in Nigeria, you will have some food made available to you. The idea was to make it a short-term program. Fortunately, the military came and everything went upside down. So in our time, we'll make sure that no excuse giving. Staple food prices will come down. And how am I going to do that? If you take just 10% of the money being stolen in the name of subsidy and you devote it just for food supply, you will see that people will find out that you buy a bag of rice for maybe 1,000 naira, you buy all the other things available to you. Then we go into massive agriculture. Now, you're asking, my question is on health. Why is he talking about food? Because food is medicine. Food is the first medicine you need to have. So once you have that, the next is to make sure that health extension and sanitation is done. So once you give that to the people in the community, 774 local government having 10, 20 health centers maintained for that purpose will serve that need. So people have access to that. Then next to that is the middle side of it, which is dealing with our perennial diseases, malaria, typhoid, hypertension, diabetes, diseases that people in Nigeria, you have a neighbor, you have a cousin, somebody, an uncle, a papa who has it. So we deal with that, and those are easily to manage because luckily for us, despite the neglect over the years, we have very good general hospitals across the country. What they lack is basic investment because corruption and lack of investment has killed them. So there's a general hospital anywhere and we have teaching hospitals. But you must now have a way by which we fund them. We see that they have electricity, basic electricity, even by using solar panel on top of all the hospitals. We build staff quarters for the doctors because many of the doctors now are running their private show on the other side. Then on the issue of dealing with pay of doctors, there are two ways you deal with pay of doctors. We must give them some in-kind services. If you are a doctor, you have food supplied to your quarters, you have a living quarter paid for by the government, you have free education for your children, you have some mobility to take you to work in terms of emergency call and when you are going to work regularly. That way, many who are patriotic, many who are homesick, they will not go abroad. But their pay will not be spent on just trying to make a living. I have many doctors I've talked to. If you see the way they are spending their money, that's the reason why they want to go abroad. So then the third tier of it is tertiary health. That tertiary health is where you find our leaders going for kidney transplant, going for heart bypass, going for some of these things that we can do here. But we are lucky that we have about 12 top-notch hospitals that if we invest 10 billion naira in each of them, they will be able to go back to how they used to be. Remember that nobody was competing with UCH Ibadan in the entire Commonwealth as one of the best hospitals. And when the Queen came to Nigeria in the year 2000, the first thing she asked, where is that beautiful hospital in the woods? You know, because she came there in 1956 and saw that it was a fantastic hospital. And the King of Saudi Arabia used to come there for medical checkup, another bypass, another operation.
All right.
So we can do that, provided that you have
to extend
an SDP kind of.
If you can hear me, yes, permit me, but we do not have the luxury of time to adequately peruse all of your promises to the people. But one issue that I noticed going through your manifesto is your promise to the Niger Delta people. It appears that you're possibly not in support of the agitations to control the resources then. What you put down is to ensure that you cater for what is needed in the Niger Delta and provide for it under the federal government. Isn't that a bit different from the decentralization that you had promised initially in your statements when you opened this conversation?
There are two things. One, we have no promises in our manifesto. We have plans. These are not promises. A promise is something you say out of your wish. A plan is something you show how you are going to do it. So I promise to build a house for you. It's different from me showing you the plan, showing the land, showing you the finance to do it. So ours are plans, not promises. Secondly, in the Niger Delta, we have three things there. Going forward, we are allowing for more control of the resources, not just at the state level, but at community level. In all my speeches in the Niger Delta is very clear. Second, we are doing historical remediation. We have done enough damage in that place over time. So we need to make investment to clean up the place, because Bayelsa will have made more money from shrimping than he has made from oil, and we've destroyed the stream. So we need to repair that. Thirdly, we need to look at Niger Delta not only as oil. You should not approximate it with oil. It's also part of Nigeria. There are intelligent people there. There are good children. The future, John Pepper Clark. They are from there, Claude Ake. The place is full of intelligent and brilliant people. So even if the oil dried up magically overnight, it's still part of Nigeria. So we need to make federal government investment in the place. I'm not going to say, well, I've given you some controversial resources. Okay, good luck. No, I'm going to say it's still part of Nigeria. I'm still interested in producing my nuclear scientists from there, producing doctors from there. I'm still interested in producing wrestlers. For example, among the job people, I want to get Olympic medalists in swimming from there. That place is not, it just happens to have oil. I wish it did not, because the people themselves are worth something more than the oil, and we need to get that out of them. That's the point I'm making in that plan.
I'm sure you know that as we stand as a nation this morning, the nation is running at a huge deficit when it comes to our economy. A debt profile we hear before, if you're voted into power to be president, will be over 70 trillion naira, even as I speak this morning. With all of the ideas, the lofty ideas you've put together in your manifesto and some others you might wish to push into work for the Nigerian people, how do you intend to navigate through the debt profile of the country and the economic situation we're in as a nation today?
Before you deal with deficit of money, deal with the bigger deficit in government, deficit of ideas. That is the problem there. If you look at the size of the economy as it is today, despite all the problems in the economy, and you look at the revenue profile that the government is claiming, you know that we don't have a problem of money. We have a problem of government with ideas. If you look at the controversy going on now around the mismanagement of stamp duties only, if you look at how much we are losing by not running post offices, if you look at how much we are losing by people stealing majority of our crude from these oil wells. So you would not, if you look at how much we are losing from flaring gas, I'm talking of immediate money that we can make. If you look at how much we are losing from overflight and other sources, our problem is not lack of money. Our problem is lack of stewards to hold the money. It's like what is said in the Bible somewhere, that the harvest is plenty, but there are not enough workers. There's no government that is prudent enough now that is committed to getting revenue in place. If you look at the shape of the government, it doesn't have an efficient shape of receiving, on the fiscal side, of receiving your revenue. It's a government that is running into debt financing even while awash with money. For example, look at this year's budget. They are doing a deficit of 10 trillion. First, that's nonsensical, when they have written away 16 trillion in waivers for about 11 or 12 people. So money is not the problem. I can guarantee you that if you have a government that collects 50% more than we have now, our debt will disappear in 9 months. So I don't want anyone to tell me that in a family where husband, wife, children, the aggregate income is about 5 million naira a month, that they cannot pay a debt of 50,000 naira they owe to their neighbor. So you will say, no, there's something wrong with these people. So that is what I'm letting you know, that we are in the H train now going in the LNG. Go and show me any government book where the income of LNG has reflected.
All right, Prince
Just
Adewale.
a consultant walking by is able to
Your
let the
point is
government
well
know.
noted. Your point is well noted, and I think it's quite clear that you intend to cut down on the cost of running government, and that would also then improve your ability to spend on other critical infrastructure. Prince Adewale Adebayo is the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party who joined us in the nation's capital this morning. Thank you so much for making time. I'm hoping that when you do make time to talk to us again, we'll be able to look at your international policies, especially across West Africa and Africa as a continent. We appreciate you nonetheless for joining us this morning to discuss your plans should you be elected president in 2023.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and God bless Nigeria.
God bless Nigeria. Thank you so much. We go for a break now. When we come back, we focus on Rivers State. The intrigues, the politics, especially between some of the two major parties in the state and how they intend to maneuver their way around the 2023 elections. Stay with us. This is still News Hub.